Bernie Sanders and his supporters are celebrating, meanwhile, after a trio of wins on Saturday. But the march toward the Democratic nomination is still ongoing in the quest for delegates. One America's Cramer breaks down that delegate math for us, and he explains what effect Sanders' successes over the weekend will have on the rest of this election season. Take a look.
In an election full of Super Tuesdays, oddly enough, it was a Saturday that turned out to be super for Bernie Sanders. The Vermont senator ran the table in a trio of Democratic caucuses. While momentum is no doubt on Sanders' side, the all-important matter of delegates is a different subject.
There's some mythology going around out there that we cannot win this election. That is mythology. With
that in mind, it's time for another installment of Delegate Math. Due to Sanders' landslide wins on Saturday, he got 81%, 72%, and 69% of the support in Alaska, Washington, and Hawaii, respectively. The 74-year-old gains ground in the race for delegates.
We were up against a candidate supported by the entire political establishment, somebody almost universally known, someone who had been anointed as the inevitable nominee. Well, guess what? She's not so inevitable today.
As it stands right now, according to the Associated Press, Clinton leads Sanders by 268 pledged delegates, 1,243 to 975. The magic number for Democrats is 2,383. The numbers don't lie, but they are deceiving. On the Democratic end, they're a little more difficult to gauge than the GOP due to the presence of superdelegates. There are actually two sets of figures. When superdelegates are included, Clinton stretches her lead to over 700 delegates, but those superdelegates can still change their support. As it stands right now, if superdelegates are not included, the Vermont senator would have to win about 58% of the remaining delegates to secure the nomination. That percentage jumps to 67, though, if current superdelegates are added in. Sanders' battle is even more uphill because his specialty so far has been caucuses. He's won every single one of the last 10 Democratic state caucuses, but the rest of election season features more primaries, including several that are closed, meaning independent voters, also a Sanders stronghold, are not allowed to take part. Another thing working against Sanders is the fact there are no winner-take-all races on the Democratic side. Each state awards delegates on a proportional basis. In order to secure the nomination, he needs to keep winning, and in some cases, by a large margin. Due to the Democrats' proportional provision, Sanders' path to a nomination can only likely be achieved by more landslide victories. He'll have the opportunity to gain ground on Clinton early next week when Wisconsin puts 96 delegates up for grabs in an open primary. However, the real battle will take place on April 19th. New York's 291 delegate prize is the largest of any April contest. Sanders was born in Brooklyn.
Thank you so much, New York City, for coming out. We appreciate it.
But Clinton is a two-term New York senator whose campaign is headquartered in Brooklyn.
It is wonderful to be here with all of you, to be in New York.
Recent polls tilt in the former Secretary of State's favor, but with a continuing FBI investigation dogging Clinton and support swelling with Sanders, those polls may only be a prediction. After all, a bird on the podium is worth two in the bush. Cramer, One America News.